Thanks for the opportunity to chat with you guys. So I'm also an assistant professor. I'm from University of Toronto Scarborough. I was hired in 2017 to basically have in my sort of teaching portfolio mostly first year. So I'm also our first year coordinator. So we have a team of faculty, 6 faculty actually, research PIs and teaching faculty that teach first year chem at Scarborough. And so when I came in, just looking at, after teaching it a couple of years and sort of seeing, the pluses and minuses of what we had, one of the things that I think was very interested in doing was to create some kind of a bridging course. Let's see here. We don't have any prereq checks at UTSC for our incoming chemistry students. So probably as many of you are really realizing, first year chem is a bridging course for so many programs, not just chemistry itself. So we've got about 1,000 students usually registered for the first half. And so the population that comes in, we're getting adult learners, we're getting students that maybe don't have grade 12 chemistry. We've got a really diverse group. Oops, sorry about that. Usually my pen will kick in there. There we go. So how to deal with something like that? My thought was, I came back from a college background. I taught high school for a little while. Is maybe what could work is some kind of a prep course. And there is a fairly good amount of literature saying that, prep courses do help with, student retention and to help them. So this was not planned specifically for the pandemic, but it kind of catered very nicely into the pandemic in the sense that a lot of students went online very suddenly, and then potentially were left without maybe a really good grasp or really good fundamental knowledge of what's going on. So we usually have it between a 25 and 30% failure rate. That's pre-pandemic. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen when we get the next sort of wave coming in. I suspect it'll probably be something like when we lost OAC in Ontario anyways. So the idea was like how to address the issues here, right? Because in actual classroom time, there's not much we can do. We've got 500 students. We have no tutorials for our first year kids at the moment. So we've got a lab component, we've got a lecture component. Things are scary. It's the first time they've ever been to university. We're writing 2 term tests, which is a pretty kind of standard thing. And what we've done and created is an online tutorial that's run after hours, right? So this is the support network that we give our first years. The reason for running things after hours, we seem to just get better attendance at that time for whatever reason. So what was the plan? Initially, we were going to have lecture discussion sessions. I was going to run this for a 6-week term. So like I was going to think, right before semester starts. So rather than doing it in like May, June, and then leaving July, August for them to have a break, we were going to run it sort of from start of July to second week of August. And then that would sort of, keep everything fresh in their mind so they'd have, a really solid foundation and be successful. I was going to do 4 hours of lectures, so two 2-hour sessions that weren't designed to be lectures necessarily, but like an interactive classroom, small, intimate. We capped it for the first time around at 100. That's where we thought we would be, and we would have group work. I think some of the people have sort of alluded to the fact that students really like problem solving in class. So that was kind of the plan. And we were going to record everything and then post that for students that have, unable to attend so that they can always watch again. The other thing that I've noticed for our students, I'm not sure if other people notice the same thing, is that labs make students extremely nervous. They're shaky when they come in. We've had students faint after the first week. It seems very stressful for them. So what I thought was to have this prep course in a very low stakes environment, provide them just the opportunity to come in and play with some glassware, play with some volumetric pipettes, play with some Kool-Aid so that it's highly colored and they can see where it's going, use a burette, use a bulb as the first lab, just to get an idea of it, right? And then the second lab that I would have run sometime in that 6-week course would have just been a straight vinegar titration with some dilute KOH or sodium hydroxide. So they get to use some chemicals, they get to have an experience with this, and at least then they're not so nervous for those that do it. So I had a lot of great help from graduate students and undergrads. They did a great job helping me, create the lecture slides and develop materials and online quizzes for our learning management system. And then, of course, this was slated for 2020 summer. The pandemic came along and we had to switch on a dime to online delivery. So how did I do that? Probably as many of you guys did it the same way. I decided that I would do it synchronously via Blackboard Collaborate. I think that it's good to have students sort of committed to a time that they should get used to it. We have classes on specific times and they should be used to coming. So I did it via BB Collaborate and I recorded those again for anyone that couldn't attend. And I also modified it slightly, which I think is something that I'll keep going forward that I hadn't thought of before, to have 4 guest speakers, because I'm sure they're going to get bored of just hearing me blab on about the mole and stoichiometry. I ended up getting a research PI to talk about some of the research that she did, a grad student to talk about what grad student was like, one of my more successful first-year graduate students to talk about courses and how the undergraduate experience is, and then our departmental librarian to discuss, where they would be going if they were doing a lot of chemical research, right? So I tried to make it as interactive as I possibly could. Again, buy-in being not huge. The main problem, or the main thing that I think was a bit of a challenge, is the labs. Obviously, we couldn't do in-person labs, which was sort of the thing that I was hoping, most to bring in to sort of, solidify those skills. We had to switch out for, basically they were discussion sessions. So I worked with a graduate student and one of our techs to film some sort of standard fundamental techniques, pipetting, burette technique, weighing by difference, and then some self-guided worksheets on those processes based on the videos, just to discuss, because that was pretty much the best that we could do going for the online environment. So what were what I think are the successes? Well, we had 40 students registered, which for never running the course before and going up to 40, I think was pretty good. And I think on average, we had about 50% of them coming in and attending in person. So asking questions and engaging, which was fantastic. Those that were there did turn on their mic and were able to chat. We're able to track their marks, obviously, because I see them in first year chem right away. And so 95% of these students got a mark of 75% or higher in our first offering of chemistry, which for us is really good. Usually the class average is around 63%. So this seems to be useful. It's impossible for us to say whether or not these students were just more well prepared overall or whether the prep course helped them. But overall, I think they enjoyed it. Surprisingly, even though we don't offer organic chemistry as content in our first year chemistry at UTSC, a lot of the students wanted to see it. They wanted to see functional groups and drawing and nomenclature. And they wanted to see a lot more molecular orbital shapes and VSEPR stuff, which also we cover in first year. And I kind of avoided in the prep course, thinking that, they would be covered in more detail in the actual course itself. Main challenges, again, the online delivery, low efficacy, students don't seem to want to come, students don't want to participate very much. 50% attendance out of 40 students is okay, but it's not fantastic. But I can say that the upside is we have these really nice lab skills videos, which we're going to be using going forward in our first year classes anyways. So they'll be attached as like an appendix to our lab manual, and we'll be able to use these lab skills videos in future offerings of our prep course anyways. So that was nice. The other thing is a problem sort of for us is like, how do I reach more students? I've been in contact this year with our academic advising people, and hopefully they're able to email blast more students, but our class size is huge, right? So it would be nice to see probably more than 40 students, but we will see. And then again, one of the things that's come up this year is adding this to the co-curricular record as an option. how to track attendance or how to track actual participation in our learning management system is a little bit of a challenge. I'm not a super techie, but if this is something that I've been trying to look into in terms of like how to embed media and to see that, I see my 10 minutes is up. So just the future directions. In 2021, obviously this summer, we are going to be doing it online again. One of the things that I missed that I probably should have thought about going forward in the first one is a pre and post self-assessment. So maybe for students to check their own learning right at the beginning and then check it again at the end. And the other thing that we've done is I now have a departmental website for our prep course where I post our syllabus and some nice videos, as well as on our Twitter feed. And again, I kind of mentioned, we're currently working on this co-curricular record. So hopefully I can work with those ed tech people and figure out a way to have a minimum participation level so that at least the students that do get this course get some kind of recognition. So here's a couple of links. I'm happy to post those or share them through the committee if they'd like to have a look at the videos if everyone's interested. And then finally, thanks for your time and looking forward to the comments and questions session.